Hey y'all, this is Nikki Haverstock, and we're doing RuPaul's Drag Race episode, season 12, episode 4, the Ball Ball. I hope you are all staying safe and healthy, and not coughing on strangers, and taking care of yourself and others that you might be quarantined with. So Dahlia's gone, and Nikki's sort of reevaluating. Rock is so sweet. I think they gave Rock a lot of what was Sherry's interviews. So Aiden kind of, I don't know. So I'm not a real fan of Aiden. I'll get into it when we actually get into the challenge. Why, I don't have a problem with Spooky Queens. You know, when I originally saw Aiden, I was like, well, maybe I don't. Maybe I'm projecting my ideas of traditional femininity, and that's not fair because drag is more than just traditionally fishy, which I know is kind of falling out of favor as a term, queens, but I'm just not finding Aiden that interesting, and kind of the attitude is not endearing. So anyway, Britta is unhappy, but I will say Britta, we're now on, that was the 3rd episode, but Britta's 2nd, and so far 2 for 2 episodes where Britta's worked with the team, Britta's kind of taken over and criticized the leader, and so we're sort of noticing a trend where you go, okay, that wasn't just that one episode was a mess. Now we see 2, and I think it was Rock who said it, but it was one of the queens said, you know, Britta came in expecting that this would be easy, and they would, and I'll tell you, expectations are the enemy. This is almost always when people really get twisted around, it has to do with expectations, and so that is not a great way to start. Rock is jumping with her wig, so we do our quick drag queen bees. I will say Britta was a mess. I wouldn't even call that drag. I wouldn't even call that, you know, traditional drag. But everyone else did pretty good. They all did their little thing. When they get to Sherry, they kind of cut Sherry out. Why does Rue hate Heidi's name so much? It's a play on hiding in the closet. I would just say it that way. I would just say hiding in the closet. Hiding in closet. Or whatever. But Rue really hates the name. And I'm like, there have been some kind of not endearing names on drag. I don't quite understand why Rue dislikes Heidi so much. I'm thinking maybe it's that Rue has a problem saying it, and so she wants Heidi to change it. If I was Heidi having this platform, I would go with whatever. We talked about it last week in the comments. Alaska also technically had to change their name for the show because it wasn't TV friendly, and so they, you know, so this isn't really the first time, but anyway, Gigi Good wins the challenges, $2,500. So they're going to do a ball, Baller's Ball, 3 looks. Lady Baller, Title IX Realness, which I took to mean you look like a glammed up female athlete, okay? Basketball Wife, which is basically a trophy wife, which I never really, you know, put together. And then they have to create something from balls, okay? So Heidi's not in a great place. Gigi's ready to Heidi's not in a great place because he hasn't done an outfit. Has done it. We all know that they have it, that they have this challenge coming, so you expect him to be somewhat prepared, but at the same time, if it's just not your strength, like Gigi made the comment about how Gigi can't dance, but then won the dancing challenge. But I'll say there's a big difference between being able to pick up set choreography quickly and just being able to dance to some music. So I think that was the difference. You can hear my toddler crying. Don't worry, he has his father, he has his grandmother, everything's fine. So they start decorating, and Aiden is done and taking a nap. And I think I have watched a lot of reality shows in my day, and that is never a good sign. It's not great on Project Runway. It's not even good on, remember Tyra and on season, what was that, 2? Was Tyra season 2 or was that season 3? I don't know. But would take a nap and it drove everyone else crazy. And I agree with that. Aiden just kind of seems to be doing as little as possible. Rock has a good point about makeup. I don't know what that meant. So anyway, we're going to get into the actual challenges. Because I don't like do fancy editing and put their picture up here, I'm going to kind of talk more in generalities until we get to the top and bottom. So one of the things I noticed is there seemed to be a break between most of the outfits that I consider to be successful were glammed up conceptualized versions of female athletes. So we have Nikki with like a bejeweled football pads, and we see, I really appreciated that Rock changed the makeup, and so did Crystal. Dramatically change their makeup, and I think that is exactly what I said last week, which is you need to prove you can do more than that. Even if you do your style 80% of the time, when it's called for, show that you have more than one look, and I think that was a big check mark for both of them. So the outfits that I personally loved were the ones that looked like glammed up outfits. Jaden really stood out to me because it is so hard to, and we've seen this in past challenges, where to take a traditionally male look and still read as female from every angle. And Jaden did that, looked like a women's NBA star. And so I really liked how that was pulled off. I didn't get Sherry's at all, where it doesn't matter if we're not talking about it. Widow, same thing, I didn't really get it. Some of these were more like, I'm going to take a ball and it'd be inspired by it. And I preferred the outfits that were more, like I said, like Jaden's, Nikki, Jackie, Heidi's, that was like a, you know, a fun female lady boxer. Gigi's, for me, I don't know a lot about croquet, so to me it kind of felt like just a cute outfit with a croquet ball. When I say cute outfit, I mean a great outfit, but for that particular challenge, I didn't feel like it was right down right down the center of the aisle. Now, when we get to the next category, which is the trophy wife, Leslie Jones, who was one of the judges, the guest judge, said exactly what I said, which is, all my notes are like, oh, this is Real Housewives of Atlanta, this is Love and Hip Hop, this is specifically Real Housewives of Atlanta, and if you don't know the history on that, many of them were basketball and football wives. But it kind of had that, like, the meeting between sort of a hip-hop culture, and of course there's also the show Basketball Wives, which I don't watch a whole lot, but I watch a lot more Real Housewives of Atlanta. But for me, it's sort of like elegant meets sort of a hip-hop aesthetic. And so, and I agreed with what they said. I didn't like Crystal's. I kind of felt like the wig was really ratty. Not that I'm one to talk about how long hair looks. I liked Jan's. I actually felt that Jan's sparkle tracksuit almost would have worked better for the first challenge because it looked more athletic to me. I didn't have a problem with it for this one, but her baller look to me was more about sports rather than being inspired by a uniform. And then I felt that her look for this was more, they were both good, but for me, if we're really talking about nailing the challenge, I think I would have switched them a little bit. So I said Heidi knew a sophisticated lady. I put Phaedra. So this was a little bit, this is a little bit, what does a basketball wife look like? I don't know. What does anyone's wife look like? So that's a little harder to judge. And then the last one was balls, eleganza balls. Now I think Jackie did not have a lot of ball, but it was a great look. Nikki, I wrote Austin Powers, like when they go back at the beginning, like the go-go dancer. I think that was a little bit of the color scheme that got me and a little bit of the look. I liked it. Aiden's, for me, the only thing that tied it back was the referee reference, which we saw came from Jan, really. That wasn't something that Aiden came with. And I finally kind of nailed my issue with Aiden's makeup, which is it is somehow too much and too little at the same time. So it reminds me a little bit of when I was in junior high and the emo, it was before emos, goth kids. And so you would just take this white makeup, you would smear it all over your face, you'd do a little eyeliner, and that would be it. And it somehow is like I could almost believe that Aiden started the makeup and then almost like quick drag, but it's not that it's messy, it's just somehow feels like it's not a complete look. Like just super white, these little eyebrows you can barely see, the makeup goes up, but it just doesn't feel like enough, which is exactly what they said about the outfit. So her women's baseball they liked, but to me it was definitely like, oh, we have a costume party tonight and you have to dress like a female athlete from any time in history. And you look through pictures and you go, oh, I have a dress like that. And if I just take my bondage harness and put it on top, it'll kind of look like it. So everything I feel like Aiden's done is just, she calls it minimalist, but there's a difference between minimalist, like when you decorate your house, minimalism, or, you know, Atomic Ranch or mid-century modern or whatever, and just an empty apartment. And so, and it's hard, kind of hard to put, but for me, Aiden's falling on there's just not a lot there. And the fact that they were done so early, just sat around doing nothing, it just always kind of feels like the most minimal viable product of drag. Like, it's just not too much. And I personally am of the, you know, I'd rather you go over than under. That's true for a lot of reality shows where they're like, if it's between someone who's over and under, usually the person who's over is safe. On Project Runway, you would rather have something that's too over the top. Who would wear this versus something you could buy at the Gap? And that's not to disparage the Gap. It's just you could already go to the Gap and get it. So why would you do that when you could? Anyway, that tends to be true for all reality competitions. I feel like it's especially true for drag. That's something that Trixie said about the judging in either her original season. It's on, but she talks about how they go, oh, it's an awful lot, Trixie. And she's like, yeah, you said dripping with flowers, so I'm dripping with flowers. Like, this is drag. I'm a man in a dress. What do you expect? And that's kind of how I feel about my drag. Like, I'd rather see you do something too much than under. So there we go. So in general, it was to me, I was a little confused as to the wording. Did they have to cover up everything? Did they expect balls to be on everything? Because then there was like, oh, there's too many balls. And it was a little confusing. So Jackie, Crystal, Jan, Heidi, Sherry, and Widow were safe. Nikki is on top, but they're asking for more personality. So I would like to see that. Nikki's definitely more interesting than I thought she would be. Gigi was on top and Jada was on top. And it ended up being that Gigi won. I actually feel like Gigi's really good, but I actually would have liked to see, I think it was the last one, Gigi win and Jada win this one, because I just felt, but you know, they look at more, they say it's just per challenge-ish, because they will definitely nail you on, like, you've done this look too many times, and so it's not just this challenge, it's kind of a body of work. So do I think that Jada would have deserved to win 2 weeks in a row? Nah, not really. So I get Gigi winning because I don't feel that this outfit for Jada was so great that she deserved 2 wins in a row, but, or was it 2 wins in a row, or would that have been, or 2 wins out of 3? I'm sorry, no, so it'd be 2 wins out of 3, because Jada won the first week that she appeared, and then, anyway, my point is, I get it from the point of view, if we look at the overall scorecard, yes, Gigi deserves to win. I don't think that Jada would get 2 out of them, but necessarily, I think this is like when you get the Oscar for like your worst movie, but it's been so many years and you've been robbed so many times. Anyway, that's just my feeling on it. I'm totally fine with Gigi winning. So Gigi has gotten $7,500 in this challenge alone. So that's $5,000 for winning. I would have preferred to see Britta and Aiden go. I think I've seen enough from Aiden. I also would have been fine with Britta. I'm finding Britta a little abrasive. Well, we'll see. We'll see how the arc goes. Maybe next week Britta's like, I'm so wrong, you know, with this big heartfelt thing, and I love Britta again, and then, you know, I'm fine. We'll see. But Rock goes home, which is very sad for me. I think there was valuable time lost pulling off that skirt. A lot of the really smart queens always kind of plan for, if I have to lip sync, I'm going to have this be instantly tear away, I'm going to pull out some stitches, something. So when you lose the beginning of the dance to trying to lip sync while pulling off that skirt, I think it's kind of, you started at a low point and it was going to be hard to come back. Now, Britta was pretty aggressive about getting in front of Rock, not in a Mimi on first kind of way, but I wish queens would pay a little bit more attention to what they're doing and a little bit of less blocking out the other queen. But that is a personal decision. I don't necessarily think that that's something that, you know, that, I don't know. So, I'm sorry to lose Rock. Made a really good point about their makeup, which is talking about they've been inspired by anime. That's what I said in the first week when people are talking about, oh, it's Kimchi and Trixie. I don't think it's fair to say, we've seen it on other queens in other places. I don't think it's fair to say, like, because now we have two famous queens with really distinctive faces that nobody else can get near that. I don't think it's a fair thing to say, especially because if you really examine them, how it's being done is different, which is why you always say, don't get inspired by Kimchi and Trixie. Go back to the original source material, which Rock did, which is anime, and then reinterpret that, and instinctively you'll get to the destination. You'll get to a different destination. And I think Rock did that. I'm hoping that we see them in future seasons, because I feel like there's more to them. I wanted to see more. So that is my recap. Thank you, guys.